Hi everybody, and here's part 4 of the tutorial for the Carenado 1900. We're getting closer to our destination, so we're going to start a descent soon. There's our ADF we can ident. We can use the chart to confirm the Morse code. We're not quite close enough to receive the localizer ident yet, but we should get it soon. Now I'm going to start to reduce power. I'm going to put it down to 1,000 pounds of torque, and that'll be our power setting basically for the whole approach right up until short final. I'm going to click descend, and airplane's going to start to descend. We're going to keep our prop RPM still at 1400 for the whole approach, and there's that Morse code we were looking for. So we can compare this to the chart and make sure that we have the right code. And we do, so just double check that again. There we go, that's good. Listen to it again if you want. So now that we've idented, I'm just going to click it off there, and we'll continue on with the approach. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I'm going to lower my flaps to 70 degrees, give us some drag, and let us get down faster. Click on this bar here, and it'll bring up our buttons. And now I'm going to increase our rate of descent because we're pretty high and we want to get down a lot faster. So you can do this as desired, just try not to exceed any speeds, either your speed limit or your flap limit. In this aircraft, the flap limit for 17 degrees is like 187 knots. It's on the placard above anyways. And if you look on the GPS, you'll see that the magenta line goes right to the YSJ VOR, and the approach that we want to do starts ahead of that. So we're going to get rid of that by selecting the DTO button on the FMS when we're ready. And guess what? We're ready now. So that's what I'm going to do. Bring up the FMS. I'll select DTO, and we're going to go to Goxos as our direct to. Hit 6, enter, and you'll see now that the GPS line changed, and that's going to take us there. We'll start our approach, and it should be all pretty smooth. I decided that we need to get down a little bit faster, so I'm just going to do that right now. And once again, we're going to be watching our speed to make sure that we don't exceed any limits. And this is the placard that I spoke of before with different speeds on it. Good to know. And you might want to note, as you get lower, or as you descend into thicker air, you are going to have to start reducing your power a little bit more as you get lower and lower. But you still want to keep that 1,000 pounds of torque. It's just that you might have to change your throttle position to keep it there. That's all. Looks good. Into the soup we go, and just monitor everything. Oh yeah, now I'm going to turn on the auto feather. Let's run the approach phase, and it's good, I guess, if we have an engine failure, we don't have to think about getting rid of that drag. It just goes. So that's one thing. I don't actually have the checklist in front of me, and I'm not quite sure what they do in real life, but that's what I'm choosing to do for this approach. And now that we're getting really close, I know that I can change my altitude. Rather than level off at 3,800, we're going to actually just continue our descent down to 2,200, and we'll already be on our DME arc when we arrive at that altitude, and that'll be good for our when we get to our final course. Is activated, and now our turn has started, and descent is still going good. At this rate, we should be down to where we want to be fairly soon, so that's fine. Brought the control column back. Just letting us know we're 1,000 above. I extinguished the light. Still monitoring everything, looks good. Start to level off at 2,200. I'm going to leave my flaps on 17 degrees because it's going to slow us down and just give us a more stable approach. I know that the 1,000 pounds of torque will be enough to maintain altitude, and we'll probably slow down to be around 130 to 140 knots. No normal approach, say if it was a nice weather day, I'd probably leave the flaps up and come in a little bit hot, and then just as my glide slope is 2 degrees above, I would then lower my gear and then put my flaps to 17. But anyways, for this approach, I'm just keeping them at 17 now. Just going to follow this line in on the GPS, and I'll wait till we're on our actual final approach course prior to switching from GPS to VLOC mode. It's also very important when you do that to also reactivate your approach button on the autopilot. I've had so many approaches just not work out because I didn't reset the approach button on the autopilot when I did the VLOC switch, but it just seems to work a lot better. I don't know why. So now the plane's starting to turn onto the final course. Once we're straightened out, I'll switch over the function CDI button on the GPS. That'll get us to VLOC mode. There, I switched that. Now I'm going to switch the approach to off and back on again, and just monitor it, make sure everything looks good. Plane is still flying stable. It didn't leave its path or anything, so I'm happy with that so far. So we can confirm the localizer is captured, and now it looks like our glide slope is alive. We're going to watch it come down. We want to change our setting. We'll lower the gear, and we would set our flap to 17 when that glide slope was 2 degrees above the middle. I guess I was wrong. I thought that I saw the glide slope moving before, but it should start moving any time now. There we go. Glide slope is definitely alive. And we're just going to wait for it to be approximately 2 degrees above the center. Or 1 dot above is another call out. So 1 dot above, and now we're going to lower the gear. Green, and the glide slope is captured. We're starting our descent, and just going to monitor everything, make sure it all remains stable. Well, it looks like we're crossing over a FAF, so we can report beacon inbound, and we can do our final gumps. Gas on, undercarriage, check 3 green, mixture rich, props going to 1700, and switches will turn our landing light on, and we're all set to land. Now it's more crucial that we use our power adjustments to what we need, not only for speed, but we don't want to exceed. I usually go between 700 and 900 pounds of torque when I have 1700 RPM, and that's going to depend on what my speed is at the time and also my flap setting. So right now 700 seems to be working, but when we break out and we see where we are relative to the runway, we'll make a final call from there. Yeah, landing light is on. Good. Also, just to note on our plate, the minimums for the ILS was 504 feet. I believe we're going to break out long before that. If you've seen part 1 of this tutorial and you've seen my takeoff, you've seen how bad that was. Well, landing's actually quite worse. I don't have access to my rudder pedals, so when I landed this video, I wound up reaching down with my hand to maneuver the rudder pedals as best I could to keep on the runway, so it's pretty funny. You'll laugh. Oh, there we go. We have visual. Going to shut the autopilot off now and just continue on with our approach. You see I land a bit crap. Like I say, I'm not using any rudders yet until I really have to. We could pretend we were cleared to land and all that fun stuff. The most important thing I find at this part is just not to chop the power right away. Wait till you're really close to the runway and you're floating, because it does reduce power pretty fast. And there we go. There's me trying to save from a runway excursion, and I'm trying to grab the runway. The rudder pedals. Oh well. And I got no brakes either, so I had to put on the park brake. Other than that, I hope this video was helpful to anybody trying to learn how to use the FMS. It's pretty straightforward, and especially if you're doing a GPS or RNAV approach, really helpful. All you gotta do is your step down altitudes, and works out really well. So anyways, thanks for watching.